Okay, so this is the first of a couple of videos which I like to make with regards to this new mini series, which I basically want to give the name "Knowing Your Football Confederation" because obviously with the World Cup qualifications happening right now, and with some of the teams actually qualified already for next year's World Cup, I just thought it essential to start looking into the different countries and where each country is situated with regards to qualification in terms of the different confederations. So yeah, let's get into it. So starting off, we have UEFA. Obviously, UEFA is an acronym for the Union of European Football Associations. UEFA is FIFA affiliated. It has been for a very long time since the beginning. Um, Obviously, the founding nations of FIFA came from UEFA. Um, UEFA has a total of 55 member associations and member federations, and it was founded on the 15th of June, 1954. In terms of competition structure, you have the national team side of things and the club side of things for both the men's game and the women's game. With the men's side, I'm using the flowchart for this. With the men's side, you've got the Euros, um, and also for the women's side as well, you've got the Euros as well. So that this is all in the national team side of the game. You've also got the newest competition, which is the Nations League, which um, came out quite recently. And you've got the Finalissimo, which is essentially a competition between the winners of the Euros and the winners of the Copa America, which is played under CONMEBOL. For the club side of things, for the club side of the game, for both the men and women's game, you have the UCL, which is an acronym for the Champions League. You've also got the European, um, sorry, the Europa League, which is basically the second tier to the UCL. And then quite recently, you've got the Conference League, which is the third tier, which was created by UEFA. And yeah, you got the Super Cup as well. So basically, in the past, the Super Cup was a one-off game contested between the winners of the Champions League and the winners of the Europa League. But now, obviously, with the creation of the Conference League in recent times, um, what happens is that the winners of the Europa League and the winners of the Conference League face off in a semi-final matchup, and whoever wins that goes on to play the final match between the winners of the Champions League to then decide the winners of the Super Cup. Um, so yeah, currently UEFA has had 7 different presidents, with the recent president being Alexander Sheffin, who actually happens to have a legal background and is a lawyer as well. Um, the headquarters of UEFA is situated in Bern, but it used to be in Paris. Um, and then again, I think it recently moved to Nyon in Switzerland. So yeah, this happened sometime in '95. Memory serves me. Anyway, so yeah, back to the national associations. So yeah, you've got the famous ones like Belgium, France, England, Germany, Italy, uh, Denmark, the Netherlands, Scotland, um, Portugal, Spain. And you've got the lesser known ones like North Macedonia, um, San Marino, and ones like Belarus and Armenia and Andorra. Yeah. In terms of the values of UEFA and what they tend to promote, generally I think in recent years, what they've really focused on is inclusivity. Trying to get the men's game and the women's game to match up in terms of relevance, based on the competition structures, which I spoke about earlier on. In terms of future direction, UEFA, especially being a European um, organization, tends to meet up with the different sustainability development goals put up with by the United Nations. And obviously, we go back to the issue of inclusivity and wanting to promote that as well. Um, so circling back to the Euros and the winners of the men's Euros. Obviously, the Euros has existed since the 60s. So the first one was hosted by France and won by the Soviet Union. Second one was hosted in '64 by Spain, and they won it as the host nation. In '68, you had Italy being the host and winning it. In '72, you had Belgium playing host, and that was won by Germany. That was the German side, which had the likes of players like Gerd Muller, Franz Beckenbauer, and Andreas Brem. In '76, you had Yugoslavia hosting it, and it was won by the likes of Czechoslovakia. So essentially, Czech Republic and Slovakia have sort of like a joint European title. Um, in the 1980s, Europe, you had Italy hosting it, and that was won by a German side which had the likes of Lothar Matthäus, and yeah, in '84 you had the generation of Michel Platini, Perez, and Tigana winning it, and France hosted that one at the time when they won that Euros as host. In '88, you had the Euros being hosted by Germany, and that was won by the generation of Marco van Basten, Frank Rijkaard, and Wood Hollet of the Netherlands. So essentially, you could say this was sort of like a revenge by the Netherlands for the 1974 World Cup loss. Uh, in Euro 1992, you had Sweden hosting it, and that was won by Denmark. In '96, you had England playing hosts with Germany winning that one. In Euro 2000, you had both Belgium and the Netherlands hosting it together, and that was won by France, which had the generation of Zinedine Zidane, Marcel Desailly, Didier Deschamps, Thierry Henry, Lilian Thuram, Fabian Barthez, and yeah, the list goes on and on. In Euro 2004, you had Portugal playing hosts, and you had Greece being the underdogs in this competition, and they actually won that one in a very dramatic final, which is quite iconic to this day. In '08, you had Austria and Switzerland hosting it again, and that was won by the golden generation of Spain, which had the likes of players like Xavi, Iniesta, David Villa, um, Casillas, Torres, yeah. And again, in 2012, you had Ukraine and Poland hosting it together, and Spain won that one back to back. It seems between 2000 and 2012, you had quite a few nations actually hosting it together. Anyway, in Euro 2016, you had France being host, and obviously Portugal won that one. Um, quite a few people might remember that final where Cristiano got off injured, but yeah, they still managed to get the job done on that one. In 2020, you had the pandemic taking place, where essentially the Euros was played in different countries across Europe, with the final being held in England at Wembley, between England and Italy, and obviously Italy came out on top, winning the final match on penalties. And quite recently, you have the Euro 2024, which was hosted in Germany, and once again, England made the final for that one, but they lost to Spain. So, in terms of stadiums and the different types of landmark stadiums within UEFA, were quite a lot of memories have been created over time. Uh, Obviously, at the top of the list, you have Wembley in England. In second, based on this list, I mean, it's quite different for everyone. But based on this one, you have Berlin. That's the Olympia Stadion, which I believe is the home of Hertha Berlin. Yeah. Um, then you have the San Siro or the Giuseppe Meazza in Italy, which is home to the two Italian giants of Inter Milan and AC Milan. The San Siro also played host to several games in during the 1990 World Cup. Then you have the Santiago Bernabeu in Spain, Madrid, which is home to Real Madrid. Circling back to Italy, you have the Stadio Olimpico, which is the home ground for AS Roma, which was also the final venue for the 1990 World Cup match between Germany and Argentina. And then in Naples, Italy, you have the Stadio San Paolo, which recently was renamed the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona in memory and in tribute to Diego Maradona, obviously. Um, then you've got another one in Camp Nou, which is currently going through renovations in Spain, which is the home ground for FC Barcelona. And we are expecting Messi statue to be out there very soon. Um, in Amsterdam, you have the Johan Cruyff Arena, which is the home for Ajax. And in France, you have the Stade de France, which was the final venue for the 1998 World Cup and also the 2016 Euros. In France again, this time, Monaco, you have the Stade Louis II, which is the home ground for AS Monaco. It is quite an iconic stadium. It looks sort of like an amphitheater. When you go into the details of the stadium's infrastructure and architectural design. And lastly, for France, you have the Stade Velodrome, which is based in Marseille and is the home ground for Marseille. Yeah. So looking at the different world champions to come out of UEFA, the two most successful teams in Europe uh, under UEFA have been Italy and Germany. Both have been four-time world champions. Um, with Italy winning the four world championships from 1934, 1938, 1982, 2006, and with Germany winning their first one in 1954, the second in 1974, the third one coming in 1990, and the last one, the quite recent one, in 2014. And in second place to Germany and Italy, or in third place in this list, you have France, being two-time world champions, winning their first one in '98 and the second one quite recently in 2018. And then in fourth and fifth place, well, technically they are both fourth place in this one. You have England and Spain having won the World Cup just once. Spain winning jersey in 2010, and England winning back in 1966. They are still trying to get a second one up to this day. Um, yeah. So in total, when you put together the number of world championships won by these five countries, you have a total of 12 from the UEFA Confederation. Going into the different legends to come out of UEFA, This is just a comprehensive list. There is a much more broader list of legends to come out. So yeah, you got Cristiano Ronaldo for Portugal, Zidane for France, Johan Cruyff for Netherlands, Franz Beckenbauer for Germany, Eusebio for Portugal, Ben Muller for Germany, Roberto Baggio for Italy, Marco van Basten for Netherlands, Stanley Matthews for England, Thierry Henry for France, Lev Yashin for Russia, George Best for Northern Ireland, Michael Laudrup for Denmark, Ferenc Puskas for Hungary, and Andres Iniesta for Spain. Quite a few of the names I've just mentioned are winners of the Ballon d'Or. But then if you go deeper, you have others as well, such as Pavel Nedved, Wood Hollett, just as I mentioned before, Michel Platini, and a list of others. In terms of managers to come out, in terms of like successful managers to come out of UEFA, again, there's a long, extensive list. But for the purpose of this deep dive, I've just managed to narrow it down to quite a few names here. So you've got Sir Alex Ferguson, who's Scottish, and he's from Scotland. You got Pep Guardiola, yes, Pep from Man City, who's who's from Spain. You've got Johan Cruyff for the Netherlands, Franz Beckenbauer for Germany. Yeah, both Cruyff and Beckenbauer have been both successful as players and managers. You got Sir Alf Ramsey for England. He won the World Cup for England back in '66. You got the special one in Jose Mourinho from Portugal. In Italy, you've got Arrigo Sacchi, who famously took Italy to the 1994 World Cup final and was quite successful with AC Milan in Serie A during the 90s. And then again, you've got Zidane of France, this time being successful as a manager for Real Madrid, especially in the UCL. And for Croatia, you've got Zlatko Dalic, who was successful for Croatia. Under him, Croatia managed to get to the finals of the 2018 World Cup and the semi-finals of the World Cup in 2022 and the third place playoff match at the 2022 World Cup. So yeah, circling back to the 5 KCPs which I put up some time back. So for those of you who do not know, this is my ranking system for the national teams, the football clubs, and the confederations, which I came up with. So essentially, there are 5 different factors which have to be considered. So looking back at the football history with regards to UEFA and the types of history to come out of the different teams from UEFA and the competitions and the trophies won, quite a lot of national teams and clubs have been successful in UEFA, so they get 1 point or 1 star. In terms of the world class players produced and the managers and legends produced, based on the list which I just put up, there is quite an extensive list to this. So that gives them another point. In terms of league structure, club structure, and infrastructure, and stadiums infrastructure, again going back to the different world class stadiums to come out of UEFA, they get another point. And in terms of plans and aspirations for development in the football world, again, UEFA has stuck to a code of progress, which has stood the test of time. And obviously, we would expect them to keep up to that in terms of meeting certain goals such as inclusivity, and yeah. So that gives them a total of 5 stars, which means, yeah, based on the ranking system, UEFA is a strong confederation and will continue to be a strong confederation for quite some time. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed the facts and the deep dive to this, leave the video a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. The next one's quite interesting.